Thomas and Angela Whitman were experienced hikers with over 50 combined years of wilderness trekking across the United States. Their annual trip to the Black Hills National Forest in South Dakota was a tradition spanning 15 consecutive years. According to their detailed hiking logs recovered from their home computer, they had completed the Cathedral Spires Trail 6 times previously without incident. On September 15, 2013, the Whitmans, both 58, parked their 2010 Ford Explorer at the Sylvan Lake trailhead at 8:17 a.m., as confirmed by parking lot security footage. The weather was clear, 62 degrees Fahrenheit with light northwesterly winds of 5 to 7 mph. The Whitmans were properly equipped for a day hike with 3-liter Camelback hydration systems, trail mix, emergency blankets, first aid supplies, and a Garmin GPS unit model eTrex 30. According to the itemized list, they had left with their daughter, Melissa Whitman Chen. The last confirmed sighting of the couple occurred at 11:32 a.m. when hiker Daniel Brubaker photographed the granite formations near Cathedral Spires. The Whitmans appear in the background of his image, identifiable by Angela's distinctive red North Face jacket and Thomas's navy blue Columbia hat with yellow stitching. In the photograph, they are walking east on the trail, approximately 3.7 miles from the trailhead. Brubaker reported to authorities that he exchanged brief pleasantries with the couple, noting they seemed perfectly normal, discussing which route to take next. The photograph was later confirmed by FBI forensic analysts to be unaltered, with metadata consistent with the reported time and location. When the Whitmans failed to return to their vehicle by nightfall, Park Ranger Jeffrey Collins noted the Explorer in the overnight lot during his standard end-of-day patrol at 9:45 p.m. Following protocol, Collins recorded the license plate and vehicle description but took no further action, as overnight parking for extended hikes was not uncommon. The following morning, September 16, 2013, the vehicle remained in the same position. Collins again noted it during his 8 a.m. patrol. At 3:27 p.m., after the vehicle had been stationary for over 30 hours, Collins placed a standard notice on the windshield requesting the owners to contact park headquarters. On September 17, 2013, at 10:15 a.m., Melissa Whitman Chen contacted the Pennington County Sheriff's Department to report her parents missing after failing to return from their hiking trip. According to the initial missing persons report filed by Deputy Sandra Hayes, Whitman Chen stated that her parents were meticulously reliable and always called if plans changed. The Ford Explorer was officially logged as abandoned at 1:42 p.m. and search and rescue operations commenced at 2:30 p.m. under the direction of Search Coordinator Martin Blackwell. The search operation involved 15 ground personnel, 4 K-9 units specializing in human scent tracking, and 2 helicopter sweeps, using forward-looking infrared technology. Over the following 5 days, search teams covered a 28-square-mile area extending from the Sylvan Lake trailhead throughout the Cathedral Spires region and adjacent wilderness. According to the operational reports, ground conditions were optimal for tracking, with moderate temperatures and no precipitation during the search period. The K-9 units successfully tracked the Whitman's scent along the main trail to a point approximately 4.2 miles from the trailhead, where handler Teresa Gunnarsson noted that her Belgian Malinois, Rex, exhibited confused behavior, circling repeatedly before losing the scent entirely. Forensic tracker James Redhorn, who specialized in wilderness disappearances, documented what he described as anomalous track patterns near where the dogs lost the scent. According to his field notes, the Whitmans' boot prints proceeded normally along the trail, then stopped simultaneously, with no indication of struggle, scuffing, or directional change. The prints simply ended, as if, in Redhorn's words, they had been lifted vertically from where they stood. No tracks were found leading away from this location in any direction despite optimal soil conditions for impression retention. Redhorn's report, filed September 23, 2013, concluded, "In 15 years of tracking missing persons, I have never encountered a track pattern that terminates in this manner without explanation." After 7 days, with no additional evidence recovered and all reasonable search protocols exhausted, Pennington County Sheriff Marcus Davidson officially classified the search as suspended pending new information on September 24th, 2013. The case remained open but inactive, transitioning from search and rescue to a missing persons investigation. The Whitmans were entered into the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, NamUs database, with case numbers MP113675, Thomas, and MP136776, Angela. Over the following year, 6 reported sightings were investigated across 3 states, all ultimately determined to be misidentifications. According to financial records obtained through court order, the Whitmans' credit cards remained unused after their disappearance. Their joint checking account with First National Bank of Rapid City showed no activity other than automatic bill payments established prior to their hiking trip. Cell phone records indicated their devices last pinged towers near Sylvan Lake at 9:23 a.m. on September 15, 2013, consistent with entering the hiking area where coverage is known to be limited. No further cellular activity was recorded on either device. The investigation file remained largely dormant until September 17, 2023, precisely 10 years and 2 days after the initial disappearance. At 7:42 a.m., hiker Veronica Lundquist, a 32-year-old geologist from Minnesota, was collecting mineral samples approximately 2.1 miles east of the main Cathedral Spires Trail, in an area that had been searched a decade earlier. According to her statement to the Pennington County Sheriff's Department, Lundquist was attracted to a particular ponderosa pine tree that appeared unusually robust compared to surrounding vegetation. While examining soil composition near its base, she discovered what she initially believed to be mannequins positioned against the trunk. Lundquist's 911 call, received at 8:17 a.m., was recorded as follows. "I think I've found bodies, but something's wrong with them. They're sitting up against a tree like they're resting, but they don't look decomposed enough. And there's a sound like whispering, or I think they're laughing, but they can't be. They're dead. They have to be dead." The dispatch operator, Tanya Williams, noted that Lundquist sounded clinically shocked but coherent and maintained her composure while providing GPS coordinates. First responders from the Pennington County Sheriff's Department arrived at the location at 9:53 a.m. The incident report filed by Deputy Carlos Mendez documented the scene in detail. 2 bodies, appearing to be an adult male and adult female, both Caucasian, found in seated positions against the north side of a mature ponderosa pine, approximately 95 feet tall, 3.2 feet diameter at breast height. Bodies were positioned side by side, shoulders touching, heads tilted slightly toward each other. Both subjects were fully clothed in hiking attire, with red North Face jacket on female subject and navy blue Columbia hat with yellow stitching on male subject. Initial visual assessment indicated advanced mummification rather than standard decomposition consistent with 10-year environmental exposure. Deputy Mendez's report continued with observations that would later prompt an expanded investigation. Despite environmental conditions that should have resulted in complete skeletonization, bodies maintained significant soft tissue preservation, with facial features still recognizable. Clothing showed minimal weathering, and no animal disturbance was apparent. Most notably, both subjects displayed what appeared to be facial expressions consistent with smiling. No obvious cause of death was visible. The area immediately surrounding the tree showed no signs of struggle or disturbance. Anomalous auditory phenomenon noted by all four responding officers. Intermittent sound, resembling soft laughter emanating from vicinity of the bodies, though exact source could not be determined. Forensic pathologist Dr. Eleanor Kwan arrived at the scene at 11:27 a.m. to conduct preliminary examination before body removal. Her field notes, later incorporated into the official autopsy report, documented several inconsistencies. Subjects exhibit differential decomposition patterns inconsistent with environmental exposure. While desiccation and mummification are present, the level of preservation exceeds expectations for 10-year wilderness exposure. Soft tissues show minimal animal scavenging or insect activity. Facial muscles appear contracted in expressions not consistent with typical postmortem changes. Both subjects maintain seated positions without evidence of postmortem repositioning or slumping. The bodies were transported to the Pennington County Medical Examiner's Facility at 2:45 p.m. Fingerprint analysis confirmed identities as Thomas and Angela Whitman at 5:18 p.m. the same day. Dental records provided secondary confirmation at 9:22 a.m. on September 18, 2023. The case was immediately classified as a potential homicide investigation, with Detective Sergeant Catherine Blackhawk assigned as lead investigator. The autopsies conducted by Dr. Kwan on September 19, 2023, revealed findings that further complicated the investigation. According to the official report, both victims showed no signs of traumatic injury, no evidence of animal predation, and no indicators of environmental exposure consistent with a decade in wilderness conditions. Toxicology screening revealed no common toxins, medications, or substances of abuse. However, both bodies contained trace amounts of an unidentified organic compound that Dr. Kwan noted does not correspond to any substance in standard toxicological databases. Most perplexing was the state of preservation. Dr. Kwan documented, "The subjects exhibit a form of natural mummification that cannot be explained by the environmental conditions where they were discovered. The Black Hills region's humidity levels and biological activity should have resulted in complete skeletonization within 2 to 3 years. Instead, we observe preserved soft tissues, intact organs, and minimal decomposition of internal structures. The preservation appears most pronounced in facial and laryngeal tissues." During the autopsy, Dr. Kwan and 3 attending technicians reported an auditory phenomenon similar to that described by the initial responders. The official record states, "At intermittent intervals of approximately 17-23 minutes, a sound resembling soft laughter was perceived by all present in the examination room. Audio recording equipment activated after the second occurrence captured no discernible sound, despite all personnel reporting continued auditory perception. The phenomenon persisted for approximately 3 hours, gradually diminishing in perceived intensity before ceasing entirely. The investigation expanded to include soil and botanical analysis of samples collected from the discovery site. Dr. Marcus Running Bear, botanist with the U.S. Forest Service, examined the ponderosa pine tree against which the bodies were found. His report indicated the tree was approximately 115 years old, but had experienced extraordinary growth acceleration over the previous decade. According to growth ring analysis, the tree had grown 27% faster than surrounding similar specimens with unusual cellular formations in its cambium layer. Dr. Running Bear noted that the soil within a 12-foot radius of the tree contained elevated levels of nitrogen, phosphorus, and an unidentified organic compound similar to that found in the victim's tissues. Detective Sergeant Blackhawk ordered a review of missing persons cases within a 200-mile radius of the discovery site for the past 50 years. The database query returned 37 unsolved disappearances, of which 11 occurred within the Black Hills National Forest boundaries. The pattern analysis revealed a statistically significant cluster of disappearances within a 5-mile radius of cathedral spires, with cases dating back to 1967. Of particular note was the 1988 disappearance of botanist Dr. William Laughlin, who had been researching unusual growth patterns in Black Hills flora, prior to vanishing during a solo research expedition. On October 3, 2023, the investigation took an unexpected turn when Melissa Whitman Chen provided investigators with a journal recovered from her father's home office. The journal, which Thomas Whitman had maintained for over 30 years, contained detailed notes on Black Hills folklore, particularly Lakota oral traditions regarding certain areas within the forest. Pages dated August 2013, approximately 1 month before the Whitmans' disappearance, contained interview transcriptions with Joseph Two Bulls, a Lakota elder. The relevant passage read, Two Bulls spoke of places where the boundary thins. He called them laughing places, where the ancient ones still speak. He warned specifically about trees that grow too well, too fast, saying they feed on something more substantial than sunlight. When I asked if he meant these places were dangerous, he said, "They're hungry, but patient. They wait for those who listen carefully enough to hear them laughing." Melissa Whitman Chen also provided investigators with her parents' digital camera, which had been in storage with their other possessions since 2013. The device contained 43 photographs from their final hike, with the last image taken at 11:47 a.m. on September 15, 2013, 15 minutes after Daniel Brubaker's photograph had captured them on the trail. The final image showed a particularly large ponderosa pine tree in a small clearing, approximately 50 meters from the main trail. Forensic analysis of the photograph's metadata and geographical features confirmed it depicted the same tree where the bodies were discovered 10 years later. On October 12, 2023, the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit was consulted regarding the case. Special Agent Dr. Rebecca Solomon reviewed the evidence and submitted a preliminary profile that characterized the case as exhibiting features inconsistent with standard human predation. Her assessment noted, the positioning of the victims, lack of restraint marks, and absence of typical homicidal violence suggests either a sophisticated perpetrator with unknown methodology or a phenomenon outside conventional criminological frameworks. The preservation state of the victims, coupled with the reported auditory anomalies, points to environmental factors not yet understood by investigative science. Ground-penetrating radar surveys conducted at the discovery site between October 15-17, 2023, revealed anomalies extending approximately 20 feet beneath the ponderosa pine. The subsurface scanning identified what appeared to be an extensive root system significantly larger than typical for the species, with unusual density patterns forming network-like structures. More alarmingly, the scan detected 9 subsurface anomalies, consistent with human remains, at depths ranging from 3 to 15 feet below ground level, all within the root system's perimeter. The first excavation, conducted under the supervision of forensic anthropologist Dr. James Nielsen on October 23, 2023, uncovered human remains at a depth of 4.7 feet. The remains were identified through dental records as belonging to Robert Martinez, a hiker who disappeared in the area in 2001. Like the Whitmans, the body showed minimal decomposition despite having been underground for 22 years. The remains were found in a seated position, arms at sides, with facial features preserved in what Dr. Nielsen described as an expression of serene amusement. Subsequent excavations over the following week recovered 7 additional sets of human remains, with burial depths correlating roughly to the timeline of disappearances. The deeper the burial, the earlier the estimated date of disappearance. The oldest identifiable remains belong to Catherine Wilson, who vanished while hiking in 1967. Her body, found 15.2 feet beneath the surface, was entwined with the tree's deepest roots. Dr. Nielsen's report noted that in each case, root structures had grown through the bodies in patterns that appeared to preserve rather than accelerate decomposition. Most disturbingly, all recovered remains displayed the same facial expression and positioning as the Whitmans. Laboratory analysis of tissue samples from all victims revealed the same unidentified organic compound, which shared chemical markers with compounds found in the tree's sap and surrounding soil. Dr. Eleanor Kwan collaborated with botanist Dr. Running Bear to examine the relationship between the human remains and the tree's biology. Their joint report, filed November 8, 2023, proposed a hypothesis. The evidence suggests a symbiotic relationship between the ponderosa pine and the human remains. The organic compound present in all samples appears to act as a preservative in human tissue while simultaneously providing nutritional benefits to the tree. The mechanism of action remains unknown, but the correlation between the tree's accelerated growth and the preservation state of the bodies cannot be coincidental. The investigation took a turn toward the anthropological when Joseph Two Bulls, the Lakota elder mentioned in Thomas Whitman's journal, was interviewed by Detective Blackhawk on November 15, 2023. Now 92 years old, Two Bulls confirmed speaking with Thomas Whitman in 2013 but appeared reluctant to discuss the subject further. After traditional protocols were observed, including the offering of tobacco, Two Bulls provided the following statement, recorded with his permission. My grandfather told me about the laughing places. Before white people came, our people knew where not to go, which trees not to rest beneath. The hungry ones call to you. First with beauty, they always grow in perfect spots where a tired traveler wants to rest. Then with whispers that sound like the wind but form words if you listen carefully. They promise knowledge, visions, power. They say they only want company for a little while. But their little while is forever. They feed slowly, not on your body but on something deeper. They keep you whole so they can keep feeding. The laughing you hear is not the tree. It's those who came before, still caught between here and the spirit world, neither alive nor truly dead. The more they feed the tree, the more it grows. The more it grows, the more it hungers. When asked why he hadn't shared this information with authorities after the Whitmans' disappearance, Two Bulls responded, "Who would believe an old Indian talking about hungry trees? Besides, once they choose you, and you choose to listen, nothing can be done. The Whitmans were seeking this knowledge. He wrote it all down in his book. They went looking for what should not be found." On November 28, 2023, a special task force comprising representatives from the FBI, Forest Service, Pennington County Sheriff's Department, and tribal authorities implemented containment protocols at the site. The area within a 100-yard radius of the tree was cordoned off with restricted access. Continuous audio and visual monitoring equipment was installed to document any phenomena associated with the site. Ground-penetrating radar continued to survey the surrounding area, identifying 3 additional locations within the Black Hills National Forest with similar subsurface anomalies. The botanical specimens and tissue samples were transferred to the CDC's Specialized Containment Facility in Atlanta for further analysis on December 5, 2023. Preliminary findings suggested the unidentified organic compound had properties that inhibited cellular breakdown while simultaneously stimulating specific neural pathways associated with pleasure and contentment. Dr. Amelia Rodriguez, leading the CDC research team, reported, "The compound appears to create a state of perpetual, low-level neural activity in tissue that would otherwise be necrotic. It preserves cellular integrity while simultaneously generating patterns of electrical activity in the brain's limbic system that would, in a living subject, correlate with feelings of euphoria." By January 2024, the investigation had expanded to include historical research into similar phenomena. Archival records revealed at least 27 documented cases across North America dating back to 1785 that shared key characteristics. Missing persons found in seated positions against trees, unusual preservation states, reports of auditory phenomena described as whispering or laughter, and accelerated growth in the associated vegetation. The cases spanned multiple geographical regions but showed statistical clustering in areas with old-growth forests and locations significant to indigenous cultures. The most recent development in the Whitman case occurred on March 12, 2024, when continuous monitoring equipment at the containment site recorded an anomalous audio event at 3:17 a.m. The recording, analyzed by acoustic specialists at Quantico, contained what appeared to be multiple voices engaged in conversation, though no human presence was detected by thermal or motion sensors. Voice recognition software identified 2 of the voices as consistent with Thomas and Angela Whitman's known voice prints from family videos. The content of the recorded conversation was largely unintelligible except for one clear phrase repeated 3 times. "It knows more now. It's learning through us." As of the current date, the investigation remains active under the classification of unexplained phenomenon with potential public safety implications. The Black Hills National Forest Service has implemented new protocols requiring hikers to register before entering the Cathedral Spires area, with specific instructions to avoid solitary trees and small clearings. The Whitman family has authorized tissue samples for ongoing research, but requested the bodies be cremated, which occurred on April 17, 2024, following multi-faith ceremonies. The remains of the other victims identified at the site were likewise returned to families for proper burial after studies were completed. Notably, during the cremation process of all recovered bodies, technicians at Memorial Gardens Crematorium documented an unusual phenomenon. As thermal breakdown of tissues occurred, audible sounds resembling soft laughter were reported by multiple staff members, persisting until complete incineration was achieved. Dr. Eleanor Kwan's final entry in the case file, dated May 30, 2024, perhaps best summarizes the current understanding. After extensive investigation and analysis, we cannot offer a conventional explanation for the Whitman case, the preservation of the bodies, the organic compound with no known analog, the accelerated growth of the associated vegetation, and the reported auditory phenomena all point to a biological process beyond our current scientific understanding. What we can definitively state is that 9 individuals entered the forest over a span of 6 decades and encountered something that maintained their physical forms in a state of suspended animation while their cognitive functions continued in some limited capacity. Whether this represents an unknown natural phenomenon, an undocumented species symbiosis, or something that transcends our current paradigms of life and death remains to be determined. The ponderosa pine tree remains under 24-hour surveillance. It continues to grow at an accelerated rate,